Haunting, chilling and heart-wrenching. The last 24 hours have shaken India, its aviation sector, flyers and airlines around the world. 241 people died after an Air India flight from Ahmedabad to London's Gatwick airport crashed seconds after takeoff. And you can see that CCTV footage on your screen from yesterday. Among the victims of this crash was former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani. One person has miraculously managed to survive this horrific crash. Vishwesh Kumar, a British national, reportedly escaped just seconds before the aircraft was engulfed in flames. He is currently being treated at the hospital. What's worse is that the plane crashed into a students' hostel nearby, killing at least 5 students. By now, you must have already seen the visuals of the crash. Inconsolable family members, traumatized, sobbing, lining up for DNA tests. Remember, the plane had 125,000 litres of fuel. Bodies have been charred beyond recognition. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the crash site this morning, met the injured and held a meeting with top officials in Ahmedabad this morning. Now, the cause of this crash has not been ascertained yet. Much of the picture will be clear after the black box, which contains in-flight data, is recovered from the crash site. In fact, some reports say that one of the 2 black boxes have been recovered as we are recording this video. At the moment, a video recorder has also been recovered from the crash site. But in this video, let's try and delve more into the aircraft in question, Boeing's flagship 787 Dreamliner, and why this is not the first time that the American company is under scanner. Hello and welcome, I'm Shubham Chauhan. Let's get started. Now, just to give you a quick context before we go forward, if you look at the aircraft manufacturing industry, there are only 2 players that rule the roost. One is Boeing and the other is Airbus. Boeing has about 40% of the market share roughly, and the rest is with Airbus. Most of the planes you fly in are made by either of these 2 companies. Now, the aircraft involved in yesterday's chilling crash was that of Boeing, which is the American aerospace company. It was a 787 Dreamliner, a top-of-the-line aircraft by Boeing. Their website says it is the best-selling passenger wide-body of all time. It is faster than any other wide-body jet in aviation history and is built in a way that reduces fuel consumption by up to 25%. Basically, this Boeing jet helps in long-distance, non-stop flights. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was launched in 2011 and has carried more than 1 billion passengers around the globe. Its advanced features meant that it was always a reliable aircraft. Everyone is saying that this was a reliable aircraft with an impeccable safety record until Thursday. The Air India flight crash was the first involving a 787 Dreamliner. Now, the Boeing 787 has 3 variants. The Air India plane that crashed, which is 787-8 series, was the smallest among the 3. It was more than 10 years old. The specific aircraft first flew in late 2013 and was delivered to Air India in January of 2014. Data shows this aircraft has clocked more than 41,000 flight hours, including 420 hours during 58 flights in May and 165 hours during 21 flights in the month of June. In total, Air India has 34 Dreamliners. In 2023, it placed an order for 20 more such Dreamliners with Boeing, of course, among other aircrafts that the airline has asked for. Reports say the Indian government is now planning to ground all 787 Dreamliners operating in India and conduct a safety audit of these aircrafts with the help of experts. Now, if you look at Boeing 787s around the world, which is 1,100 of them in total being used across airlines, this aircraft has seen several technical snags being reported over the years. In 2013, just 2 years after launch, a Japan Airlines 787 aircraft saw fuel leakage, and this happened twice. Around the same time, there were issues with batteries in an United Airlines 787 aircraft. Both Japan and US governments had grounded its fleet of aircrafts temporarily following these incidents. In July 2013, an empty Ethiopian Airlines 787 caught fire on the ground at Heathrow Airport in London. Later, the cause was linked to a short circuit in an emergency locator transmitter. In March last year, at least 50 people were injured when a 787 operated by Latam Airlines dropped abruptly in mid-flight from Sydney to Auckland in New Zealand. The problem was with involuntary forward movement as far as the pilot seat was concerned. In January 2025, 6 passengers were injured after a United Airlines flight with 256 people on board carrying 245 passengers developed a snag over the Ivory Coast airspace. The plane lost altitude and dropped suddenly, causing panic among passengers, and the visuals were all over social media. Now, if you look at Air India specifically, their Dreamliner fleet faced 136 minor glitches just a year after being inducted. The 787s were grounded and Boeing rectified these issues through a maintenance program. Then, as per official data, between 2015 and 2024, Air India's 787 flights reported 32 incidents, from engine shutdowns, flight control glitches, smoke inside cabin, to loss of communication, cracked windshields, and several other such technical issues were flagged as far as Air India's 787s were concerned. In many of these cases, the flights undertook an emergency landing, and in some cases, unfortunately, a few injuries were also reported as far as passengers were concerned. The fact that yesterday's crash was the first that led to deaths, everyone being killed on board, has raised fresh questions. Of course, no one can predict when such accidents take place, but surely there are some checks and balances that have to be in place before a plane is declared safe for flying. Now, while 787 was touted to be extremely safe, a red flag was raised last year, and that is something that everyone is talking about right now. Sam Salehpour, a Boeing engineer for more than a decade, claimed that the company had taken dangerous shortcuts in the manufacturing of its 777 and 787 Dreamliner models. He alleged that sections of the fuselage of the 787 Dreamliner were improperly fastened together. He also claimed that the plane could come apart after long-term usage. Boeing had dismissed these claims, calling them inaccurate. Regardless, US authorities ordered a probe into this. In May 2024, US Federal Aviation Administration said Boeing was re-inspecting all 787 airplanes still within the production system and would make plans to assess those in services. Now, the whistleblower's allegations came at a time when Boeing was already facing flack from all corners. In fact, their credibility as an aircraft maker came under scrutiny, particularly after two crashes, one in Indonesia and the other in Ethiopia in 2018 and 2019 respectively. A combined of 346 people were killed in these two crashes, which took separately, of course. Both crashes involved Boeing's 737 MAX model, which were brand new at that point in time. The overarching cause of these crashes was a design flaw. The Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or the MCAS, which is a flight handling system, badly malfunctioned, and that is what led to these crashes. The model was taken out of service for almost a year before being relaunched and returned to widespread use. But the damage to Boeing was immense. In 2024, Boeing reported annual losses for the last 6 straight years. Last month, Boeing agreed to pay $1.1 billion in a deal with the US Department of Justice to avoid prosecution over these two crashes. As for the Air India crash yesterday, Boeing said they are ready to cooperate in the investigation probing the accident. And the picture will become clear as to how this incident, this fatal crash, took place, where except for one person, all of them on board this flight from Ahmedabad to London were killed. That's all we have for this report. Thanks for watching.